Imagine this. You walk into one of the busiest airports in America, but something feels off, eerily off. No long TSA lines, no crowds rushing to catch their flights, just rows of empty chairs, silent corridors, and that strange echo you only ever hear in movies right before something major happens. And no, this isn't some old footage from 2020. This is happening right now in 2025. Tourism in the U.S. is crashing, hard. Flights are getting canceled. Hotel rooms are sitting vacant. Cities that were once booming with travelers now feel like ghost towns. At first glance, you might think, maybe it's just a slow day. But it's not. The numbers are shocking. Billions of dollars are vanishing, and millions of visitors just aren't showing up. And it's not just one factor causing this. It's a mix of politics, global tensions, safety concerns, and economic struggles. A perfect storm that no one expected to get this bad. The wildest part? Almost no one is talking about it. But today we are. We're digging into what's really behind these empty airports and quiet streets, who's no longer coming, why it's happening, who's being hit the hardest, and what could happen next. So hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's dive into this crisis. Let's us take in a step back and absorb what's really going on here. This isn't just a slow season, it's something much bigger. Across the U.S., airports that should be packed are practically deserted. At LAX, international terminals feel abandoned. At JFK, you can literally hear your footsteps echoing through the halls. Even Las Vegas, usually buzzing with energy, is so quiet you could roll your suitcase from one end to the other without dodging a single person. Here's where it gets serious. The latest data shows that international arrivals are down over 14% compared to last year. Now, that may not seem huge at first glance, but in the tourism world, that's catastrophic. That 14% drop translates to roughly $20 to $21 billion in lost revenue just this year. This isn't about a few missed vacations. This is about entire industries taking a massive hit. Hotels are struggling to fill rooms, restaurants have empty tables, theme parks are seeing thinner crowds, and small businesses that rely on tourists, they're hurting badly. Every 1% drop in tourism costs about $1.8 billion. Multiply that by 14 and you'll see just how deep this crisis runs. And the scariest part? This may be the worst summer for U.S. tourism since the pandemic. Let's break down the numbers because they're worse than most people realize. It's not just small dips here and there, it's across the board. Take Canada, for example. Usually one of the top sources of international visitors to the U.S. Flights from Canada to the U.S. are down by a staggering 71% to 70% on some routes. That's not a slowdown, that's a free fall. Western Europe isn't doing much better. Flights from countries like Germany, the UK, and France are down anywhere from 17% to 28%. Even South American travel has seen drops around 10%, depending on the market. But it's not just foreign visitors. Even Americans are cutting back on travel. For the first time in years, TSA checkpoint numbers, which had been slowly climbing since the pandemic, are now dropping. People just aren't flying as much this summer. Why? Well, a big part of it is the economy. Airfare is expensive, hotels are expensive, inflation is still biting, and families are tightening their budgets. As one Reddit user put it, people are financing burritos. A trip to Disney isn't happening this year. Brutal, but real. What's actually behind this sharp decline? There isn't one simple answer. It's a combination of several major issues. First off, politics. Tensions between the U.S. and other countries are high. Trade disputes, harsh rhetoric, and diplomatic friction all play a role. For instance, Canada, the UK, and China have issued travel advisories warning their citizens about visiting the U.S. And when governments say, think twice before traveling, people usually listen. Next, safety concerns. International headlines are filled with stories about mass shootings, protests, and rising crime in the U.S. Whether it's accurate or not, that's the image being broadcast globally. And for a family planning their summer vacation, that's enough to pick somewhere else entirely. Finally, there's the economic pressure. Inflation has made everything, from gas to groceries to plane tickets, more expensive. Even many Americans are canceling or delaying travel plans because they just can't afford it. One online comment summed it up perfectly. We used to plan vacations. Now we're just trying to afford groceries. So who's actually suffering the most from this tourism collapse? Pretty much everyone in the travel ecosystem. Hotels in major tourist cities like Vegas, New York, and LA are seeing major drops in bookings. Vegas is down about 8% in visitor numbers, which doesn't sound massive, but that's thousands of empty rooms every night. Casinos are reporting 5% drops in revenue. In New York, things are even worse. Analysts predict the city could lose up to 3 million tourists in 2025 alone. That's 3 million people not buying Broadway tickets, not eating out, not shopping on Fifth Avenue. For a city that relies heavily on tourism dollars, this is devastating. Restaurants are quieter, theme parks are less crowded, airlines are scaling back flights and even laying off workers. The ripple effect is massive, from giant corporations all the way down to small, family-run businesses. And what's heartbreaking is that many of these businesses were just starting to recover from the pandemic. Now they're getting hit again, this time not by a virus, but by a vanishing customer base. Now here's the big question. Is this another 20? At first glance, it almost feels that way. Empty airports, canceled trips, billions lost. But here's the difference. In 2020, a virus shut everything down. Now in 20, it's something more complex, a mix of politics, fear, and financial strain. And the scary truth? There's no vaccine for any of this. Back then, governments closed borders. Now the borders are technically open, but people are choosing not to come. That's even more dangerous, because fixing public perception isn't as simple as lifting restrictions. It takes time and trust. Economists from T.S. Lombard are already sounding the alarm. Tourism, they say, is one of the first industries to suffer when the economy sours, and one of the last to fully bounce back. If this trend continues through the summer, and all signs point that way, we're looking at losses of $20 to $21 billion in 2025. And the longer it drags on, the harder it'll be to rebuild America's reputation as a top destination. So can it be turned around? Yes, but it won't be easy. Travel groups like the U.S. Travel Association are teaming up with government agencies to rebuild confidence. They've launched international marketing campaigns. Think upbeat music, beautiful skylines, happy travelers. The goal? Remind the world why visiting America is worth it. Customs and Border Protection is also trying to help by improving pre-travel guidance and streamlining entry processes. Because, let's be real, standing in a 2-hour immigration line isn't the best way to say welcome. Here's the hard truth. All of this won't matter unless the political tone changes. As long as there's friction between governments, alarming headlines, and a perception of danger, travelers will keep choosing safer, simpler destinations. Experts say it's going to take more than ads. It'll require diplomacy, clear messaging, and real improvements in safety and hospitality to bring international visitors back. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you thinking twice about traveling this year? Are you seeing fewer tourists where you live? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive.